This is an instructional video on Chapter 1, Activity Rate of Return. Here's where your activity is located. Chapter 1, Activities, Rate of Return, and download the instruction PDF. In this activity, we need to figure out an investment of $250 right now, the present value right now. What is the value of that 40 years later, the future value in 40 years? There are several ways to calculate it. First is a calculator, manually calculate or use Microsoft Excel. There is a website that shows an online calculator. We will use Microsoft Excel. So read through the information here and then we'll move to Excel. In the Excel spreadsheet, I would like you to lay out the information like this. First line is rate, it's 5%. Next, the total number of payment periods. There are 40 years, 40 number of payment periods. Okay, so 40 right here. Then the payment made each period. We will use 0 here because it is a one-time investment. So just the initial amount, the $250 that we put in right now, and we don't put any more money into it. And the present value or the initial investment, $250. Type here, just put 1. We will use this number 1 in the Excel formula. And what we want to attain is the future value of this $250, 5% rate, 40 years invested. Alright, and we do that by using a function in Excel. So go to this auto sum here, and again drop down, and here you would find your formula, but it may not appear, so we will need to search for it. What we want to do is use the one that's called financial, and then we search for future value. Where is that? It's right here. Okay. Then we have a wizard that appears. We need to populate this inbox, all these inboxes. The rate is right here, so we'll reference it by clicking on the cell that contains the rate, 5%. Alternatively, we can write in 0.05. We can type that in. We don't have to use the reference, but it's just better because we had already laid it out. What is this one? This argument is the number of payment periods. So that's this cell, 40 years. Payment, 0. Present value, that's the $250 that we make in the investment. And then the type, we're going to put 1. We use either 1 or 0 or leave it blank. In this case, we want to use 1 to show that it's the payment that is making at the beginning of the period and not payment at the end of the period. So we're making payment on day 1 of this period and not 30 days later at the end of the period or at the end of the year. Okay. So now just click on OK and you get your future value. $250 40 years later will be $1,760. Okay. Now that's the scenario where it's 5%. What happens if it's 12%? Well, we can do that easily in Excel. Grab onto this cross and drag it here. Okay, or you continue to drag it and you would get your return value, the future value of the investment at 25% interest rate. And this is your solution. We need to put this into a graph, and we can use Excel to help us do that. So let's do so. I would copy and paste it down here and then highlight the whole range. Go to insert, then this 2D column bar graph. Click on that and that creates our graph. You see on the axis here the vertical axis, that tells us these numbers, the future value based on the rate. And the rate here, let's modify this. Click on this to highlight this box, right click. Okay, so here you go, the chart area, and on this axis, right click, select data. On here, because it's shown 1, 2, and 3, we want to show it as 5%, 12%, and 25%. Okay, we want to edit. Click on that, highlight these numbers in this range. It's from cell B14 to D14. All I did was just click on the cell and highlight the range, then click OK. So now, as you see, it changed from 1 to 3 to 5%, 12%, and 25%. And if I like, I can change this to percent, and that would change the format of the number as well. And then put in a chart title here. Alright, you double click on it and type the chart title. So as you can see here in this graph, at 5% it's virtually zero because this range is so wide. Oh no, this is shown as percent, and that's wrong. It's displaying the correct set of number, but the format is in percentage, and that's not so right. So we can change that by right click, select data, then here highlight the range of number, click on OK. So that changed to currency, but then in this axis it has changed, so we can change that. Right click and change data, this, select these, and that changed it to percentage, and then OK. So there you have it. Now do the same exact steps for the different set of investment. Instead of 250, it'd be 500, and then do again for $1,000 to satisfy the requirement of this activity. You need to fill out the graph, a bar graph for the investment of 250, 500, and the 1,000. So here at 5%, what is the amount of the future value of $250? It'd be really close to zero. And at 12%, that's 23,000, so it's around right here. Okay, above this line, first line, and 18,000. So fill it out all the way up to 180, and a little bit above that, and do that for the $500 investment and the 1,000 investment. And what you can do is write out the numbers for me. What is the 5%? It's 1,760. 12%, it's 23,262, and 1.88 million at 25%. All right.